Sidwell's deadly gambit. How Dalton's murder becomes Laura's nightmare. The week of November 17th to 21st, 2025 marks a turning point of unprecedented darkness in Port Charles as Jen Sidwell orchestrates one of the soap's most devastating schemes. What begins as a calculated assassination spirals into a catastrophic frame job that threatens to destroy Mayor Laura Collins just when she desperately needs her power most. As Dalton's lifeless body becomes the centerpiece of Sidwell's revenge, Laura finds herself caught in a nightmare of circumstantial evidence, police suspicion, and the desperate fight to prove her innocence before it's too late. The breaking point. For weeks, Jen Sidwell has tolerated Professor Henry Hank Dalton's unpredictable behavior with the patience of a man managing a volatile asset. But Dalton's latest transgression, framing innocent teenager Rocco Falconeri for destruction of laboratory equipment, proves to be the final straw. Sidwell had explicitly warned Dalton to back off from his vendetta, to let the Rocco situation die quietly. Instead, Dalton doubles down, presenting fabricated evidence in court to ensure the teenager receives an even harsher punishment. "I told you to drop this," Sidwell says coldly during their final confrontation, his voice carrying the quiet menace that defines his control over Port Charles. "You've become a liability." Dalton, convinced of his own indispensability to Sidwell's criminal enterprise, dismisses the warning. He doesn't understand that in Sidwell's world, usefulness has an expiration date. With Caesar Faison's research stalled and Britt Westburn already positioning herself to take control of the project, Dalton has simply become expendable. Sidwell's decision is made instantly and without hesitation. Dalton must go. The perfect frame. But Sidwell isn't simply interested in eliminating a problem, he's an architect of far more complex schemes. He despises Laura Collins with a calculated intensity born from political ambition and territorial disputes. Sidwell wants Sonny Corinthus's waterfront properties and the influence that comes with them, and he needs Ezra Boyle as Port Charles's next mayor to make that happen. Laura stands in his way, and she's proving to be a formidable opponent despite the scandals surrounding her administration. Sidwell conceives of a plan so diabolical that it accomplishes multiple objectives simultaneously. He'll eliminate Dalton, yes, but he'll do it in a way that destroys Laura's mayoral campaign in the process. The scheme is elegant in its cruelty. Have Dalton murdered, then arrange for his body to be placed directly in front of Laura's vehicle during a moment when she's emotionally vulnerable and distracted. On Thursday evening, November 20th, as Port Charles buzzes with election results, Sidwell's operative Pascal carries out his instructions. Dalton's body, already lifeless, is positioned on a dark stretch of road. Then, through carefully orchestrated timing and opportunity, Laura, devastated over Rocco's legal troubles and potentially facing electoral defeat, is maneuvered into the exact location where she'll strike the body with her car. The accident that changes everything. Laura's evening is already a nightmare. Rocco's legal situation has deteriorated despite her family's best efforts. The mayoral election results are mixed at best, with Ezra Boyle narrowing the gap that once seemed insurmountable. As she drives through Port Charles's dark streets, her mind churns with worry and political calculations. She's distracted and emotionally compromised, exactly the conditions Sidwell has anticipated. Then it happens. Laura's car hits something substantial that jolts her back to horrible awareness. Her headlights illuminate what every parent's worst nightmare: a body sprawled motionless on the pavement. Laura's hands shake as she fumbles with her car door, practically falling onto the street. "Oh my God, oh my God," she whispers, her political concerns instantly obliterated by human compassion and panic. She recognizes the face immediately: Professor Dalton. "Hank, can you hear me? Hank!" She desperately tries to rouse him, checking for signs of life, her mayor's composure completely shattered. For a moment, impossibly, Dalton's eyes flutter open. His voice is barely a whisper, but the words that emerge are absolutely crucial. "Sidwell. It was Sidwell. He did this to me." But before Laura can fully comprehend what Dalton is telling her, the sound of sirens cuts through the night air. Police cars screech around the corner, their lights painting the scene in ominous red and blue. Laura, still kneeling beside Dalton's body, looks up in horror as officers approach. The arrest. Mayor Collins, step away from the victim. Officer Nathan West commands, his tone already suggesting suspicion. Keep your hands where we can see them. I didn't do this. I hit him with my car. Yes, but he was already here, already hurt. Laura protests, trying desperately to explain. He told me he said Sidwell did this, but Dalton's condition is deteriorating rapidly. He's losing consciousness again, and the officers aren't convinced by Laura's claims about Sidwell. To them, it looks like a hit and run perpetrated by the mayor herself. The evidence seems damning. Laura's vehicle matches the impact trauma on Dalton's body. She has no credible witnesses to corroborate her story, and she was found at the scene covered in the victim's blood. Laura Collins, you're under arrest on suspicion of vehicular homicide, Nathan says, producing handcuffs. Laura's protests echo through the night as officers guide her into the police car, her dignity and freedom stripped away in moments. Dalton is rushed to General Hospital, where doctors fight desperately to save his life. But his injuries are catastrophic. Despite their efforts, Professor Dalton expires early the following morning, taking with him the only eyewitness account of Sidwell's involvement. Fighting for her life, Laura's world has completely collapsed. She sits in an interrogation room at the Port Charles Police Department, facing Detective Chase and other officers who view her with barely concealed suspicion. Without Dalton's testimony and, with him now dead, his final words dismissed as the confused ramblings of a dying man, Laura has only her word against overwhelming circumstantial evidence. You expect us to believe that Jen Sidwell orchestrated this murder and somehow knew you'd be driving down that specific road at that specific time. Detective Chase questions, his skepticism evident. Mayor Collins, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. Because it's exactly what happened, Laura insists, her voice steady despite the terror beneath. Sidwell wanted Dalton dead because he'd become a liability, and he wanted to frame me because I'm a threat to his control of Port Charles. It's all connected, but proving it becomes Laura's monumental challenge. Sidwell is too careful, too connected, too sophisticated to leave obvious evidence. The body placement could have been coincidental. The timing could have been pure bad luck. There's no concrete proof linking Sidwell to Dalton's death or to the scheme to frame Laura. Laura must use every resource available to her. She works with her family. Her son-in-law Dante, now acting as Port Charles Police Commissioner, is conflicted between his duty to investigate objectively and his family loyalty. Her attorneys argue that the evidence is circumstantial, that reasonable doubt exists, that the story of Sidwell's involvement, while seeming far-fetched, is far from impossible given Sidwell's known criminal connections and his documented animosity toward Laura. The long road to justice. As Laura fights to clear her name and expose Sidwell's involvement, she must navigate a system that seems stacked against her. Sidwell, meanwhile, continues his manipulation from the shadows, confident that his plan has succeeded in eliminating both a problem and a political rival. But Laura Collins has never been one to surrender, especially when the truth is on her side and her grandson's faith in her integrity depends on her success. The investigation expands. Detectives begin examining Sidwell's connections to Pascal, searching for any communication that might prove conspiracy. Forensic evidence is re-examined. Witnesses are interviewed again with new questions in mind. Slowly, painstakingly, a pattern emerges that suggests Laura's incredible story might actually be the truth. What began as Sidwell's perfect crime efficient, devastating, and designed to neutralize two problems simultaneously becomes the unraveling thread that could ultimately expose his entire criminal enterprise in Port Charles. As November Sweeps concludes, Laura stands at a crossroads, vindication or conviction, justice or ruin, all depending on whether she can prove what only she and the dead man knew to be true. Sidwell's gambit, so carefully orchestrated, has set in motion events that threaten everything he's built in Port Charles. In the soap opera world of General Hospital, no crime remains perfect forever, and no villain remains untouched by the consequences of their actions. Next, we will learn about the explosive fallout from Drew Kane's reckless schemes that could finally bring the crooked congressman to his knees. In the gripping November 10th episode, viewers watched in shock as Drew brazenly confessed to Ned Quartermaine that he had slyly redirected Tracy Quartermaine's moving truck, packed to the brim with priceless Quartermaine family heirlooms, antique vases etched with intricate family crests, gilded portraits of long-lost ancestors, and delicate jewelry boxes holding gems passed down through generations. Now, those treasures sit unguarded in Drew's own home, a ticking time bomb of trouble waiting to explode. This bold theft, disguised as family entitlement, might just seal Drew's fate as whispers of impending justice ripple through Port Charles, turning his so-called clever ploy into a catastrophic blunder that no amount of political charm can salvage. Drew's latest escapade reeks of desperation and poor judgment, a classic case of overreaching ambition clashing with the unyielding laws of legality and family loyalty. Picture the scene, the Quartermaine mansion buzzing with tension as Ned, his face flushed with righteous fury, accuses Drew outright of grand larceny for hijacking that truck under the cover of night, its cargo gleaming under streetlights like forbidden treasure. Drew, ever the smooth talker with his congressional swagger, fires back that as a Quartermaine by blood, however distant or disputed, he deserves a slice of the legacy, claiming the heirlooms symbolize his rightful place in the dynasty. But let's dissect this folly. Legally, such claims crumble under the weight of estate laws and wills, where blood ties alone don't grant automatic access to valuables tied to specific trusts or living relatives. The Quartermaine estate, a fortress of old money and older grudges, operates by ironclad rules that Drew conveniently ignores, much like his history of bending truths to fit his narrative. This isn't just a family spat. It's a blatant violation that could trigger investigations from Port Charles authorities, painting Drew not as a savvy insider, but as a common pilferer exploiting his connections. Fans, already weary of his endless manipulations, are buzzing online with theories about how this single act might unravel his entire facade, forcing him to confront the consequences he's dodged for far too long, adding fuel to the fire. The emotional toll on Ned was immediate and devastating, his confrontation with Drew escalating into a full-blown medical crisis that left everyone reeling and Drew's hands metaphorically stained with more than just stolen goods. The heart-wrenching moment of Ned's collapse underscores the human cost of Drew's arrogance, a stark reminder that his actions ripple outward, endangering those he claims to care about. As Ned clutched his chest, gasping amid the opulent Quartermaine living room adorned with crystal chandeliers and velvet drapes, Drew stood frozen, his excuses hanging in the air like smoke from a smoldering bridge. This wasn't mere disagreement. It was a betrayal that pushed a vulnerable man already burdened by years of family drama and health woes over the edge into cardiac arrest. Sirens wailing as paramedics rushed in to stabilize him at General Hospital. Drew's insistence on his rights rang hollow against the backdrop of Ned's pain, highlighting a pattern of self-serving decisions that prioritize personal gain over communal bonds. In the soap's intricate web of relationships, such incidents don't fade quietly, they ignite public outrage, with social media exploding in a torrent of hashtags like #JusticeForn and #DrewMustful, where devoted viewers dissect every frame, demanding accountability from a character who's evaded it time and again. This event amplifies the chorus of calls for Drew's ousting, not just from the family, but from his lofty political perch, as whispers of scandal threaten to tarnish his campaign promises and expose the cracks in his polished exterior. Turning to the groundswell of fan demands, it's clear that Port Charles loyalists are uniting in a crusade to see Drew behind bars, viewing his truck diversion as the final straw in a tapestry of unchecked misdeeds. Online forums and Twitter threads light up with impassioned pleas, fans meticulously outlining how Monica Quartermaine's deliberate exclusion of Drew from her will severs any legitimate claim to the mansion's contents. Those heirlooms aren't communal property, but extensions of her curated legacy, locked away from interlopers like him. The Quartermaines, a clan notorious for their cutthroat exclusions, have already barred Drew from key gatherings. From lavish holiday galas in the mansion's grand ballroom to intimate strategy sessions in the study lined with leather-bound ledgers. This isolation isn't petty, it's a calculated rebuke to his history of disloyalty, including leaked business secrets and romantic entanglements that fractured alliances. Yet Drew's transgressions run deeper, a laundry list of audacious offenses, from corporate espionage that nearly toppled ELQ Industries to personal vendettas that left allies like Carly Corinthos navigating legal minefields on his behalf. Fans revel in the irony, pointing out how his unpunished sins-evading fraud charges through sheer charisma have eroded trust across the board, making this theft a catalyst for broader reckoning. Imagining the courtroom drama ahead, one can't help but envision prosecutors poring over security footage of the diverted truck. Witnesses like Alice the housekeeper testifying to the family's outrage, and Drew squirming under cross-examination, his cane tapping nervously as his empire crumbles. This fan fervor isn't fleeting, it's a movement, with petitions circulating to influence storyline writers. Ensuring Drew's downfall becomes the satisfying payoff viewers crave after seasons of frustration. Delving into the shadows of Drew's past, his abandonment of Ned during that critical moment reveals a chilling indifference that chills even the most jaded soap watchers. Not long ago, Drew himself teetered on death's door, ambushed in a dimly lit alley by a shadowy assailant fueled by his own web of deceit perhaps, a rival politician, or a scorned Quartermaine associate seeking vigilante justice. The attack left him battered, his gait forever altered, reliant on that polished wooden cane as a constant companion and a visible scar from his mortality. One might expect such a near-fatal brush to instill humility, prompting reflection on the havoc his choices wreak, yet Drew's trajectory has veered sharper into recklessness, his post-recovery demeanor laced with even bolder risks. Leaving Ned unattended in his art of need-rushing off to secure his ill-gotten gains, rather than calling for immediate help mirrors this callousness, transforming a family argument into a potential manslaughter charge if Ned's condition worsens. In the halls of General Hospital, where secrets fester like untreated wounds, this incident could unearth old files on Drew's survival, linking his attack to unresolved feuds and painting him as a magnet for danger, both as victim and perpetrator. Fans speculate wildly. Was the assault a karmic warning he ignored? And will Ned's heart attack finally force Drew to face the mirror of his sins? This layered backstory enriches the narrative, showing how personal trauma, far from redeeming him, has armored his ego, making his current peril all the more poetic and inevitable. As the dust settles on these scandals, sizzling General Hospital spoilers tease a karmic whirlwind that might ensnare Drew in tandem with Willow Tate's spiraling legal woes, hinting at a duo of downfall that could redefine Port Charles justice. Willow, entangled in her own maze of forged documents and ethical breaches tied to her nursing career and hidden family ties, faces mounting pressure from investigators sniffing around her involvement in a recent medical cover-up at the hospital. Red-hot rumors suggest Drew's heirloom heist could intersect with Willow's troubles, perhaps through shared alibis gone awry or evidence trails leading back to joint deceptions propelling them toward adjoining cells in a high-security wing, their whispered conversations echoing off cold bars. This twist amplifies the drama as Drew's political immunity crumbles against Willow's fragile facade, forcing them to confront not just external threats, but the erosion of their bond forged in secrecy. Envision the tension. Courtroom showdowns where prosecutors connect dots from the Quartermaine theft to Willow's falsified records, family members like Michael Corinthos testifying against them, and the town's elite watching with bated breath. For GH enthusiasts, this pairing screams poetic justice, a chance to see the terrible to stripped of power, their schemes unraveling in a blaze of accountability that restores balance to the Quartermaine legacy. Will this be the swerve that ends their reign of error, or does Port Charles hold more surprises? Stay tuned as the spoilers unfold.